There we go. Switching things up for streams this time. Instead of Resident Evil, I'm moving, which is MediEvil. For anyone curious, I know there's no one watching currently, but for anyone curious as to why I don't just continue Resident Evil, I stopped having fun. I need to play through Resident Evil myself before I'm comfortable doing a full-on stream. And at least in this case, MediEvil is a game I know. So I'm not going to be wandering around aimlessly for hours on end. I'm not going to be wandering around aimlessly for hours on end trying to figure out what's going on. Then I just straight up really freaking love this game. And I thought, might as well have fun with Halloween with a game I actually know, as opposed to wandering around aimlessly in Resident Evil.
It has risen again. Sir Daniel Fortescue, see? The hero of Gallowmere who fell at the first charge. The fog of war and the shrouds of time conspire to turn the arrow fodder into the saviour of the day. But we knows better. Let it alone. Fate has given it a second chance. A chance to forget the ignoble truth. A chance to defeat Sarek and live up to the legend.
Much like with
well.
Crash Bandicoot and I guess the SpongeBob remaster. I don't know how many remasters of games are like this, but a lot like the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. In my opinion, this is possibly the best way to play MediEvil. And what makes the PS4 version even better, to me anyway, is not only do you get the beautiful PS1 classic that is MediEvil, remastered for the most part modern age. It was 2019, so it was a couple of years ago. Not only do you get this beautiful game remastered, you also get, if you were paying attention to me screwing around in the menus a minute ago, you also get the original game if you complete the remake, which to me is something a lot more remasters need to do. I would have loved that for the Crash Bandicoot trilogy. I would have loved that for Spyro. I'm looking at my game shelf. I actually forgot about that one. I'm sorry I forgot about that one. Spyro is another game series that I hold very near and dear to my heart, so happy to see that remastered. I would love to do it, but I would legitimately love to see Sony remaster MediEvil 2. Especially do like a best of both worlds kind of thing. Because the original PlayStation 1 version of MediEvil 2 had some changes from the original MediEvil. One of which being these health fountains. In the original game, on PS1, and the remake, which I'm happy that this remake does, those health pools can dry up, but if you were to, say, leave the level and return, if you were to leave the level and then return, those health pools in MediEvil 2, and the PSP remake of this, which I think less people remember that than the franchise, than just the franchise in general. The PSP remake also kept that feature, which is baffling to me. You would think, frankly, I'm surprised that they had that feature in the first place in the second game, because it's just not it's just a dumb mechanic that makes a fairly challenging game that much more difficult when it didn't need to. But honestly, the remake was, first off, the remake was PSP, so that right there should tell you why not a lot of people remember it. But on top of that, I mean, it's funny, at least to me, because the remake was also on the PSP, a system that I don't think early on, I don't remember PSP early on. But
where the bravest warriors from history spend eternity,
you would think
feasting, singing,
someone,
and arm wrestling.
If I remember correctly, you could actually download the original PlayStation 1 game. I know I did on when I had a PSP before it fell apart. That you could watch, that you could
Captain Fortescue, it's me, Canny Tim.
You could play
Doesn't that go well?
PS1 games if you downloaded them,
I
and
wish I could fight it
one of the games was the original MediEvil.
Take my crossbow.
I
It's got rapid fire and it can ricochet the darts off.
I need to
walls and around corners.
double check when I get a chance and see if MediEvil 2.
A clean kill through the eye at some 1,000 yards. Not that there's anything clever about shooting someone in the eye, sir. Oh, goodbye, sir.
Yay, a proper ranged weapon as opposed to throwing daggers. Yeah, throwing daggers are right. Just I don't particularly like them. Actually, recently finished the game. Finished playing this myself earlier, and playing the remake, I should say, earlier, and despite being a big fan of a lot of different systems, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, there are very few games I have on my PlayStation account. I mean, I have a decent chunk of PlayStation games, and I'm proud of my video game libraries, each one. Even the minuscule Xbox One, which one of these days I will get my Xbox working again, stream a couple of those games. It'd give me an excuse to go back to the Portal games.
So, even
Unless I can somehow stream Switch games eventually.
You're too late, Fortescue. Already my army has risen from the grave. You will never leave this necropolis.
I'm honestly curious if this is the same voice clips from the original PS1 game, just kind of updated or something. I don't know. Anyway, blathering on and just kind of rambling at this point. But what I was getting at, having sizable libraries for different game consoles, something I feel a little embarrassed about is there are very few PlayStation games that have trophy support that I have. First off, that I've 100% completed, but more importantly, that I've actually gotten the platinum trophy on. Now, there is I did get the platinum trophy on this, and that was a mild pain in the ass, mostly due to actually, hang on, something doesn't feel right. Operation's on. Okay, no, just not feeling it. The platinum in this game was a minor pain in the ass for me. More due to a handful of trophies. One of which being the
We have failed them up.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't mean to skip that cutscene. They basically they say, we failed the master, and that's right. That was an accident. But the shit, which trophies were there? It was there's a trophy towards the end of the game on the final level where it's spoiler for a remake of a game, like the original game came out in like 98, but the final level you fight Zorok, of course, and the first phase of the fight you're fighting a group of his soldiers, and you fight them with this way. You fight him with soldiers of your own, actual soldiers from.
I actually did something useful before dying.
What am I thinking of? You fight actual soldiers from Gallowmere, the place the game takes place in, and man, I really am losing my train of thought. Covens. Something about something, I'll come back. But you have to use your own health to keep those soldiers alive. There's a trophy tied to that, which is... Oh, wait, I remember what I need to do. I just click this.
You basically recreate a skirmish from your time period.
You have to keep your men alive using your own health. And to get the trophy, you have to basically drain your health You have to drain your health. So you, like, throughout the game you get life balls, which are basically extra lives. You have to drain your health to the final life bottle for the trophy to count. Funnily enough, that trophy was a pain in the ass to me. Not because the final level was hard, but because I had more life than I needed to. Also, hi Dan, yes, I'm not trying to ignore you, I'm just trying to finish my train of thought. Ignoring you is just an add bonus. Kidding. That trophy was a pain in the ass more because it was... I had so much health by the end that I could keep... I could end up keeping all of the soldiers alive and still have plenty of health left to spare by the time that little skirmish was done. And the next phase of that final fight was ready. I mean, that wasn't as hard to do because it's basically, okay, just come back with less health. Because health does not regenerate between levels. This is an old 90s game, so of course it's going to be harder than easy peasy games you find
from the battle so
everywhere.
It must think it is a hero by now. But only a true hero is worthy of a place in the Hall of Heroes.
The other trophy.
Me again. Did you know I'm a walking apocalypse?
You say that like I'm supposed to be scared of you, Dan. I'm not.
A true hero you will be.
Hurrah! I knew it would take more than an army of the evil dead to throw your strider.
The other trophy that I had problems with was there is a stage in the game called the Sleeping Village where you have to get an item from a village of people who are basically sleepwalking, are possessed, but they're, for all intents and purposes, they're technically sleepwalking. It's weird and stupid. Rambling. Anyway. But because those characters roaming the village are innocent villagers, you cannot harm them if you want the chalice. One of the trophies, well, and granted you can harm them and still get the challenge, you just can't kill them. One of the trophies is actually to not harm a single one. That is not fun. Not only is that not fun, I am legitimately surprised that I was even able to do that. With very minor annoyance. I think it took me... Like, it only took me 2 actual tries of restarting the level. I mean, first running through the level, of course, I accidentally hit 1 or 2 of the characters just trying to get a move on. But again, I mean, technically, as long as you don't kill any of them, you're fine. But if you want that trophy, you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to do the entire stage without harming the villagers. Which becomes even more challenging because you actually do get enemies towards the end of that stage that then end up running around like, okay, well, we're gonna fight poor old Dan Forskew. And while most of the villagers disappear at that point, there are still villagers running around. that can still harm you when there are enemies running around, so you can very easily accidentally hit an enemy, hit a innocent while trying to hurt an enemy. So that's fun. And as for why I'm not reading these books, most of the books are mostly bastard, that's my sword. Most of the books are just lore that I can honestly read out myself, or that I can either tell myself, explain myself, or tells you, oh, to access this thing, you have to do this thing. Which, I mean...
This guy is a disgrace to Dans everywhere, died like a coward in the worst possible way and is falsely revered as a hero.
To be fair, good old Dan Thorescu, and one of the reasons I still consider him a hero, first off, I mean, the entire point of the game is proving that he can actually be a hero. Which is why, like, the gargoyles throughout the entire game mock him. Like, that's the joke. But one of the few reasons that I find it more comical as opposed to words are not coming out. One of the reasons I find it more comical is the entire reason he is considered a hero in the first place is mostly because of the king. He was just best friends with the king, and the king's like, oh yeah, that guy's gonna be a hero one day. And he made the guy a knight, and it was kind of a, yeah, he didn't actually need to do anything for the longest time until they had Zorok, who was actually a sorcerer working for the king, be like, oh, wait, no, I want to take over the entire kingdom. And the king's like, oh, shit, this is a threat. I'll get my top guy on this, and sends this fuck nut. I mean, I consider Dan a hero mostly because the entire point of the game is proving that he can be a hero despite being an incompetent idiot. But, I just find that funny. I wish I remember what the plot of the second game was, though. More reason for it to be remastered. I just know the plot of the second game takes place in, Victorian-era London. So very steampunk. Which is... This is a bit of a pain, because as the tip says, the only way to harm him, the only vulnerable point on this guy is his heart, so you have to wait for his heart to be open to attack. And yes, I am just standing still while he's talking. It's like I've stopped caring.
But he isn't a hero until you possess him and make him one. Until then he is a loser that doesn't deserve his pedestal.
At the very least, okay, and that actually brings up a very good point. Like, if he's not considered a hero until you make him a hero, and we'll see it once I finish this area. Why does he still have a statue in the Hall of Heroes? Because those are characters, those are people that are definitive heroes. Those are people that actually did something heroic. And yet Dan somehow has a statue in the Hall of Heroes. And it's never explained. Frankly, it's just funny to me. But maybe I lose my train of thought. Damn, shit, I actually did lose my train of thought there. So, something about Dan being here. But anyway, oh no, the demon that I just fought. Oh, I love this game.
Bargain hunters should check out the ground floor. Well-to-do shoppers should check out the upper floor. That's where it's at.
Actually, he's not entirely wrong. The best weapons are when we have access to the top floor. But anyway, this is what I'm talking about. Like, Dan has a statue here. You only get statues if you're a hero. And granted, this is Dan after he's died, so is him as a skeleton. So maybe that's what it's implying, that his skeletal form is the real hero. Oh, thank God, a hammer.
What's this I hear about that Sarok still being alive?
Anyway,
Killed the fella.
trying to finish that train of thought before Dan interrupted me and made me lose it. One of the trophies is to fight that glass demon with Dan's arm.
How are you doing for weapons?
Without having any weapons,
Here,
you can just equip Dan's arm as a weapon, and you can throw it like a boomerang. And it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite jokes.
Nonsense, Fortescue.
But one of the trophies in this game is literally just to fight that glass monster, Dan's arm. And in fact, I'm gonna equip that real quick. Yeah, he just rips his arm off. Throw it like a boomerang. Melee. I mean, it's not a great weapon. It literally is there as a, you can if you want to kind of thing. But it is, no, I want to leave. It is honestly one of the funnier trophies, especially because, like, this game gets challenging more towards its later half. Other than that, it's a fairly easy game. Well, I'd say fairly easy. It's a fun game. Just in general, it is a fun game. And it's one that I recommend. If you have a PlayStation or have access to a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, play this game. It's